Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where we are currently burning horizontally here. We've already had the SRBs detach. We did have a slight mishap that ended up destroying the engine that's right here. In order to compensate, this engine has been deactivated. And it doesn't look like that's quite the same position, but it actually is. So there we go. So that's fantastic. We're down 2 engines because of that. But overall, I think we have the thrust to weight in order to do this. The real issue right now is that our time to apoapsis is decreasing, so we probably need to nose up a little bit and fight gravity somewhat here. We can't burn directly horizontally at this moment. So let's just nose back over this way a little bit and fight gravity ever so slightly. So we'll position it about here instead, and let's see how that goes. So just put it there. One thing I was thinking is I should have run fuel lines from the outside in and kept these around. That's not the way that this is set up, though. All of these are going to go simultaneously, and we're going to fire up our nuclear engines, which isn't necessarily ideal. But for now, I guess it'll do. So we're going to be burning here for a while. We've got a bunch of orbital velocity to make up. I would like to have this be orbiting at around 70 kilometers, since we know that the periapsis for the meeting point is 70 kilometers. That would be kind of ideal to meet there, I think, and accelerate up to the 500K. But we'll see what that ends up looking like in terms of how much thrust we have left over. But for now, we're at 54 seconds to apoapsis. Are we holding here, or do we need to just go straight to prograde? Let's keep an eye on that, and we'll determine that soon enough. You can see prograde is making its way over towards us, and that should mean that time to apoapsis is going to start going up fairly soon. The frame rate is not, however, phenomenal, and I guess I can't say that that's shocking. So it went down to 53, so that definitely means we need to at least keep burning here, if not nose up a little bit further. So let's bring our nose a little bit up. I don't want to go all the way over to the prograde node, but I want to bring this over just a smidge. And at this frame rate, and with the amount of mass that we're working with here, these are going to be some very interesting docking runs. We'll see how that goes. So for now, we're just going to park our nose about here. We can see we're down to 52 seconds to apoapsis, so that's looking not phenomenal, to be honest. But our apoapsis is still fairly low, so getting some additional altitude here isn't bad, but we do need to build up a lot of horizontal velocity, which is exactly what we're looking at doing here. Now, at this point, the prograde marker is almost exactly where we are, and we should probably consider just flipping over to prograde here very, very soon. So for now, this seems fine. With the increased ascent, I didn't start turning until we had a 30-kilometer apoapsis, so with the increased amount of ascent, we didn't have any real heating issues. We had heat bars pop up for about 5, maybe 10 seconds, and then they went away as we got additional altitude. So that is all looking phenomenal. We can see here time to apoapsis is increasing, so that is great. We're just going to continue to burn here. I'm just going to lock it to prograde at this time. It's going to nose up a tiny bit more, but I think this is absolutely fine. We're going to burn here until we have an apoapsis of somewhere around 70 kilometers. And then we're going to need to do a circularization burn, and that's going to be real interesting. I'm not entirely sure how long of a circularization burn that's going to need to be. We need to push our apoapsis out a fair amount. Luckily, we've got another 10 kilometers to go here, so that will buy time for our apoapsis to get pushed and for our orbital velocity to increase. We still need about 1 kilometer per second, a little over 1 kilometer per second here, to get ourselves into orbital velocity. So that is definitely noted. But in retrospect, I do wish that we had asparagus staged this. That would be nice. I guess this is almost more of an onion stage, but whatever. I wish we had staged this in such a way where we had fuel going to this center tank. That would be ideal. Unfortunately, that's not the way this is done. You can see here we've got some slightly uneven fuel. This is, of course, because we have these two that have engines that are out. So we're going to have a little bit of extra burn time there, and the most ideal way to do that would be to continue to burn those after we have gotten rid of the other stages. We'll see what that ends up feeling like. So for right now, with our apoapsis pushing out, I kind of want to take us over to the horizon. But I feel like we're okay. I feel like we are doing absolutely fine where we're at right now. We're pretty close to the horizon, and we're letting that orbital velocity come on up, and that seems good. We've got another 7 kilometers to raise this apoapsis and push out our time to apoapsis. So that seems reasonably good. And I think we should target probably like 75 kilometers, to be honest, for our apoapsis. I'd like to have a little bit of pad space there. So that might mean that we need to raise up our... I wonder what that timing would look like. We would need to raise up our apoapsis on our other stage. In theory. We could definitely do that. That would be a theoretically viable thing. So that means we've got another about 10 kilometers to raise this apoapsis up, in that case. Which seems fine. Our orbital velocity is increasing nicely. We still have to raise it about another, like, 800 meters per second or so. But we should have that, I think. We should be achieving orbit without dipping into our hydrogen reserves at all. We may have to dip into our hydrogen reserves a little bit for the actual docking. Certainly to accelerate up for the docking, I think. We'll see what that ends up looking like. So we are reaching 1500 on our orbital velocity, and we should be starting to see this apoapsis really start to go up. We can see we're 1 minute and 4 seconds from the apoapsis as of right now, and that looks really, really good. Yeah, that's definitely pushing out, so I'm very pleased about that, but going back to prograde, I don't think it was strictly necessary, but I do think it was the right call here. So we're at about 1600 meters per second in orbital velocity. We've got a fair amount of burn time left on these engines, so I think we are going to achieve orbit. The question is, achieving orbit... The main problem, of course, is that our current setup on our vehicle is very elliptical. We could work on fixing that. That is an option. So we could take several passes around and just have a particular amount of burn time and just raise up the periapsis successively, or we could just try to get it to line up. And I feel like that might be a possibility, but the frame rate is going to be very exciting as we're attempting to do this. No doubt about that. It's going to be real interesting. So for the time being, let's let this continue to burn, but we can see we are at about a 70-kilometer apoapsis. That is looking good. I do want to bring that up, as I said, to about 75 for right now. I want to circularize this at about 75 to have a little bit of pad space to work with. And we could definitely bring up the other vehicle to an apoapsis of 75 quite easily. That would not be very challenging. We could do that in a single burn, and that's probably not a terrible idea. So for now, let's just get this guy accelerated up. We're at 1700 meters per second here. And we're going to overshoot a little bit. We're still technically in the atmosphere right now, so we'll have a little bit of drag, but it won't be much. We're at 60 kilometers. So I think just shooting for just over 75 is absolutely fine here. Keeping an eye on our fuel levels, we should be reasonably okay on that front. And we're reaching 75 kilometers in our apoapsis right about... Okay, this is going to be a little bit longer. Right about now. I'm going to take it up to 75.5. Okay. Engine shutdown. I guess it's 75.6. So at this point, I want to get us circularized. I'm going to... Right, we can't do this while paused. I hate this. I hate this so much. we really should be able to do those sorts of maneuvers while unpaused, or while paused. Because now we're going to have to do this with a very exciting frame rate. Okay. Please let me actually grab this. That would be nice. There we go. Okay, so we're going to attempt to accelerate this on up and get ourselves roughly circularized here. Okay, that's probably close to good enough. It's not quite there. How's that? 65K? We need to change the timing on this, I think, but it's so hard to grab anything. Okay. It is so hard to grab anything right now. Okay, what's this timing looking like? Again, we should be able to do this while paused. But 67? Okay, let's just toss in a little bit more prograde. I just want to be in an orbit, right? At this point, that's all I'm interested in. 72. There we go. That looks good. Lock to the maneuver node, and we're going to be starting this burn in 1 minute 21 seconds, which is also exactly when we reach the apoapsis. Okay, so this is going to be 547 meters per second. According to the game, we have 2,000 left in here. I don't know how real that is. This number is often very fake. But let's get aligned for this burn, and that'll be fine. We are slowly working on this. We're not quite out of the atmosphere, but I'm still going to extend our solar panels. We know that in KSP2, solar panels are quite resilient, and we're quite high up in the atmosphere anyway. So let's get these extended so that we have a source of power. And it would appear that our reaction wheels are having a hard time turning this, which I'm not surprised by. The reaction wheels are intended to turn this, right? Not all of this. So that's absolutely fine. Let's just get these solar panels extended, get a source of power here, and slowly turn our way over. As long as we're remaining on the prograde marker, that's honestly good enough. If we overshoot it a little bit, that's fine. So let's bring this on over. We've got 1 minute 9 seconds now until this burn, and obviously, this is not the speediest thing in the universe. KSP2, not the best optimized, that's for sure. This isn't even that complicated of a craft, like, for real. There's not even that many parts here. But okay. We do have 79 vector engines here, and that's probably where the majority of the issue is, but it's fine. Okay, so our solar panels are getting set up here. That looks good. And they're going to get turned around soon enough, and we'll start generating some electric charge. That sounds good. We're definitely making some progress on this turn, but we are still within the atmosphere at this moment. So we are going to need to rise up another 500 meters to get out of the atmosphere. That looks fine. And we know it's 547 meters per second that we're going to need to accelerate up, and that is ballpark of what I expect, actually. So that sounds good. This burn will be a 23-second burn, so we actually want to burn this like 11 seconds before the apoapsis, and that's fine. We can definitely do that. So we want to burn this at the apoapsis being at T-minus 11. So that's absolutely okay. And technically, we don't even need the maneuver node at this point. I just wanted to know how long it would take us. That's the only thing we really needed to know. But I'm going to keep this around for now. So we're now out of the atmosphere. That is looking good. And we're just slowly turning over here. We're definitely turning fast enough that we're going to reach it in time. So we want to burn this at T-minus 11, right? And the question is, how much do we want to let this turn? Well, we're going to be turning a lot faster now that we no longer have any drag. I say a lot faster. That is a relative term. It's not going to be fast. It is going to be faster. So that is fine. But let's get this into a proper orbit, and then I think we're going to raise up the orbit of our lander vehicle up to this 75. And the question is there a point at which we would be able to have these rendezvous just kind of naturally like that? And I would expect the answer to that to be yes, but there's going to be a pretty large delta V disparity between the two of them. So we're going to need to accelerate up this guy to get an apoapsis of around 500k. But once we're in orbit here, it doesn't take that much DV to do that. So that should be reasonably fine. The other thing that we could do is slow down the other one. But I don't think there's a point to that because we're going to have to accelerate it all up anyway, right? So that seems reasonably fine. So we're now 43 seconds away from this burn time. We're much closer in our turn, but we're not quite there yet. I'm going to make a quick save here in case things go horribly, horribly buggy, which can happen. I don't know that the quick save actually saved. There we go. Now it says game saved. Beautiful. And now it says it again. Excellent. There's just a pretty long lag time on that, I guess. Sure, that makes sense. We're very close at this point to the maneuver node, and I kind of want to just warp to it, but we're 38 seconds away. We know we're going to want to burn at T-minus 11. I'm going to freeze our physics here. Let's take this up to 10x. That is not a great frame rate, even at 10x, remarkably. Okay. Yeah, I expected it to get better at 10x when it wasn't actually simulating the physics here. Well, we know that we're a little late on this burn. Let's get going on that. As soon as it lets me throttle up. Okay. There we go. So we're burning a little late on it. It doesn't matter. It's completely fine. But we would have been better off burning it several seconds earlier. Okay, so let's get this accelerated on up. I like how the game thinks that we're burning a little early, but I mean, technically we're burning late. Technically. So this is all fine for now. We're at the apoapsis at this moment, and we wanted to be burning probably about 7 seconds before we did there, but I was really hoping that the frame rate would improve when we went to 10x. It did not. So I think the game needs a restart at this point. That's going to be a pretty common thing, I think. There seems to be a relatively major memory leak or something along those lines, because performance drastically improves when I restart the game, and then it pretty much tanks again after just a few minutes of playing. So there is that. Okay, so this delta V number is going down fast, a lot faster than our orbital numbers are going up. That's for sure. So this number is not accurate, and we should not trust it. Understood. That said, our orbital velocity, well, we're just about at orbital velocity. We need a couple hundred more meters per second here, and I'm just going to continue burning at this maneuver node, and that'll be absolutely fine. We just want to take our periapsis up to be above the atmosphere. That is our only goal at this point. The question is, will we have enough fuel to do that? And I think the answer is yes. Keep in mind, this is a pretty light payload, and we'd like to be able to do a lot of our maneuvering on this still. The main problem, of course, is frame rate, but, I mean, that's going to be the case with pretty much anything we try to do this mission with, so that is fine. This is going to be quite horrific on the frame rate when we're trying to dock this. I have no idea how that's going to go. It's going to be real interesting for sure. We do need to accelerate this up about another 200 meters per second here. And that's looking relatively okay. Now about another 100-ish meters per second. But we're definitely going to be achieving orbit here. Yeah, we can see that these numbers are not at all accurate. This might be due to the incredibly low frame rate. That might be why these numbers are so inaccurate. I'm not entirely sure. But for now, we're going to achieve orbital velocity very, very shortly. So we're at a periapsis of minus 30 right now. Now minus 20. Minus 10. Periapsis is now positive. Plus 10. 20. 30. 40. 50, 60, and 70. Engine shut down. Okay, so we're at an apoapsis of 81 and a periapsis of 72. That's close enough. So we've got a little bit of fumes left here. Let's go ahead and take a peek here. Okay. So if we were to make our fly safe 16 here our target, which we should do, we set that as our target. I'm wondering how we're doing here in terms of timing. Eventually, we should just passively have an encounter, to be honest. So if we put this into target mode and we go to target retrograde, we can see, why would we be in 4727 meters per second? Neither of these are retrograde. That's only traveling at 2493 meters per second. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that one, but we can do some warp arounds here, but what I want to do first is I want to fix our ascending node. So let's go ahead and put this here. And at this ascending node, let's create a maneuver plan. Boy, I wish we could do this with the game paused. But unfortunately, we're going to have to suffer through this frame rate, it seems. That's very exciting. And we're just going to try to fix this inclination a little bit. Is this the right direction? Nope, we got to go the other way. Okay, so down this way. And we got to fix about 3 degrees of inclination. That's not too bad. Okay, so this is going to be like 150 meters per second or so. Okay, so that's 0.2. And let's just slowly dial this in. 0.1. And in theory, we'll hit 0.0 soon enough here. Okay, we haven't done it yet. There we go. We'll call that good. Let's move around to the maneuver node. That'll be fine, but it's going to take us a while to turn there. So that seems okay. This is going to only be a 5-second burn. I'm sure we have the fuel for that, so I'm not too concerned about that. But it is going to take some time for us to get this into position for the burn. I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here. I'm going to restart the game, and hopefully with the game restarted, things will be much better in terms of frame rate. Fingers crossed. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.